Welcome back to Two Nobodies, everyone. I'm Rupesh Patel. Kyle's back with me this week. Glad to have him back. We don't even have anything to talk about. I think we're just gonna start talking and see where it kind of goes, which I'm actually excited about because you and I haven't really chatted in a while. So let's let our massive audience into our conversations, Kyle.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's a good idea. If you listen to our last couple podcasts, and I'm speaking more specifically to the the episodes where it's just you and me.
Yeah.
And particularly the last one, the Calling of the American Mind. The most interesting part of that episode was the first 15 minutes where we talked about GMOs, I think.
Yeah.
And the rest was just like a shitty book review where I just like read scripted notes for an hour. It was like being stuck in a class. The teacher comes in and puts up a PowerPoint and there's like 2,000 words in the PowerPoint and there's like 30 slides and he or she just reads like every word on every slide. It was awful. But so I thought that like the best part of that conversation was just us talking. But watch now that we go into an episode without a plan, that we can't just rely on our hilarious banter and just be just a huge wet fart. But who knows?
I think we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Happy Father's Day to you. How'd you celebrate? What was your day like?
Well, we started off with waffles. So Sunday morning is our waffles thing.
Yeah, which like super dad thing, right? Like that's a real dad move to just make waffles every Sunday, which I really dig. My wife's dad made hamburgers every Saturday.
Okay.
Awesome. When you do waffles, what's the recipe you're using? Like, what do you do?
Well, we got restrictions in our house, right? We got gluten, we got dairy, we got all kinds of stuff. So actually our recipe's pretty clean. Actually kind of comes from Oshi Glows, modified a little bit. But buckwheat is the base. Buckwheat is awesome. Have you? Good. Yeah.
I grew up on the buckwheat pancakes. That was a thing that my dad made. Not every weekend, but pretty frequently.
Okay. Yeah. So buckwheat base, lots of protein in there. A little bit of rice flour, a little bit of tapioca starch. What else we got? We got vanilla in there.
What holds it together?
Maple syrup.
Because from what my experience eating like gluten-free breads or cakes or whatever is it generally it's kind of dry.
There's always something. Yeah, you need something to bind it.
So what's your cohesive ingredient?
There's actually, it's funny, you'd think it'd be like chia seeds or something, but the buckwheat itself really holds really well.
And buckwheat's crazy good for you, isn't it? Doesn't it
yeah, it's very, very good for you. It has a full amino acid profile, which is important. So yeah, it really, really sort of great. It's not even a grain; it's a berry, right? It's seeds from a berry.
What? I didn't know that.
Or fruit or something like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we use buckwheat, rice flour, some starches that help, and then vanilla, maple syrup, and then bananas, and just put it all together.
The vanilla, the artificial vanilla, or are you using like
no vanilla extract? Yeah, we always.
So you got that vanilla extract money.
Yeah.
It's so expensive. I had a friend come back from like Madagascar one time, and they brought like this jar of like Madagascar vanilla, and it was like worth its weight in gold. So good.
Well, because we always get it from Costco, and Costco's had it priced at $40 for the bottle, right? And we're so used to getting it at like 20, and so we've just been, rationing our vanilla for a good like 2 years, and then I would say I think in the last 3-4 months the supply has caught up to the demand, and they said that there was something going on in Madagascar because apparently that's where like the vanilla comes from, most of the vanilla. I don't know. Yeah, and so it's caught up, and now the bottle's back down to 20. So,
nice.
So we loaded up in a little bit of vanilla, but yeah, definitely have to have vanilla. That makes a big difference.
I've heard you can make your own vanilla if you can get your hands on vanilla beans, which maybe that's more expensive than vanilla itself. But you can make your own vanilla just by putting vanilla in like a vodka or almost like a flavorless liquor, and soaking the beans in that flavorless liquor. And I've done it. I think it was like a flavorless liquor. Anyways, I did it once. Really, really good stuff. But I have no, like the vanilla beans we just had for some reason. So probably like vanilla beans are like $30.
Well, another big thing though is apparently vanilla powder. So one of our family members introduced us to vanilla powders in your tea, but this stuff is like incredibly expensive. Like a small bag, probably like maybe 6 inches in size or whatever, is like $80 to $100.
That's
Like
like
just
saffron.
yeah, yeah.
Saffron's insane.
And I'm not sure what sort of added benefit or if added flavor it does, but it's like a new twist on vanilla. So
Weird. I had no idea.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So I keep interrupting.
No. That's no. So yeah, put that all together and then put it in the waffle maker.
What
So
kind
yeah,
of waffle
it
maker
totally.
you got? Like one of those sweet big round ones.
Not like the ones you get in the motels. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
that's
thinking
exactly
about? The
what I was
ones you
thinking
just
about.
kind of flip over? No,
Yeah.
not that. Just to sort of Cuisinart, and yeah, works really really well. So yeah, make it to go. You're invited to come. I think you're coming, right? You're coming for waffles as soon
Yep.
as we can open things up here.
Yeah, that's right. I think in a couple of weeks here, I'll be
Yeah.
popping over to your place for a little waffle party. I'm amped. Waffles are so delicious. If I could eat like three things, and this would probably change depending on the day you ask me, but if somebody's like, you can only eat three things the rest of your life, one of them would be like a waffle or a pancake. I have to pick, but waffles, especially with like whipped cream and berries. Oh my god! And there's a really good. I have a friend who's gluten free, and she makes the whipped cream out of basically just like you take a nice high quality coconut milk,
Coconut milk.
take
Yeah.
the solids
Yep.
out of it, and just whip the shit out of
Yep.
it. And it
Yep.
actually, and I think that she adds some vanilla to it, and maybe
Yep.
something.
We
It's
do that too.
fantastic. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's actually like not even a substitute. It's just like a nice topping to have.
And the little bit of coconut is it's just so refreshing too.
Yeah.
It's like it's a nice flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have to maybe do that for you too. But yeah, so that's sort of our waffle thing that happens every Sunday. I think Michelle's kind of done with waffles. I'm totally into it. I get so excited. I eat like about 4 of these waffles, and they're a pretty good size. And I will admit that when I get into the 4th one, I actually get a little sad. I get a little sad because I'm like, I gotta wait another effing week for a waffle, right?
more
Like it's
waffles.
just so. But the good thing is that sometimes there's a little bit of extra batter, and so then I could have it on Monday morning.
Oh,
But
so
I gotta do it though without Avina noticing, otherwise she's gonna want the waffle.
I guess
but-
that's right. So do you
Yeah.
just make an extra waffle and then put it in the fridge, or do you keep the batter and then break the waffle iron?
Oh
and
no,
have
it's
it
got to
again
be.
on
It's
Monday
yeah,
morning?
yeah, yeah. No, it's got to be
That's-
made to
that's
order.
Yeah, all right. Because
You can't have a cold waffle. That just
No, well, you'd heat it up. You'd like put it in the toaster or something. When we make pancakes, there's always some left over, and we just put them in the toaster, and it's fine. It's not. They're not as good, for sure. They're not as good, but it's easier than just like cooking more pancakes. But
well, the waffle iron doesn't take.
cleaning
that
a
long to
waffle
heat
iron
up.
is horseshit.
Well, I don't know. These non-stick ones, like I just have to sort of wipe it
What
off
do you
with.
use
You're not
as
supposed
a-
to. You're not supposed to really wash it with soap or anything like that.
What do you
I
use?
just
Oh, is it cast iron?
no. It's like kind of it's non-stick. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I'm
yeah,
hoping. I'm sure it's got cancer built into it or something.
I mean,
but
it's, I'm not, that's not what I'm getting at. But every waffle iron I've ever had, and maybe you got your like batter ratio dialed in or something. Every waffle iron I've ever had, it always spills over,
oh
and then
no,
it
this
hardens
is
on the outside, and I got to scrape it off. That's probably why I make pancakes more than waffles, is because cleaning. And again, it's probably my process that's flawed. Cleaning a waffle iron sucks. Sounds like though that's not an issue in your house.
no.
Oh, damn,
I got this
jealous.
down, man.
Yeah, you gotta figure it out.
I'm actually really excited for you to see this process.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, watch! I'll try it. I'll like wreck your waffle maker when I'm over. Let's put too much batter on and fry it, or like get
Yeah.
the cord caught in the waffle or something. Probably. Anyways, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So waffles.
yeah.
and
Start
then-
off with waffles, and then we're supposed to go to the zoo. Now I don't know. The zoo is. Michelle and I are having a little bit of a hard time, sort of wanting to take Avina to the zoo, but we were like, she's still young. We could make this a learning experience, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. I think we just
Why don't you like
kinda-
zoos?
we feel sad for these
If
animals.
they're the saddest places on earth, I
Yeah,
honestly
yeah.
cannot stand zoos. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, sorry. We've taken our son to the zoo here, and we'll take him to other zoos, I'm sure, but I do not like them at all. I mean, I guess for some of them have animals that have whatever, like a bald eagle that was hit by a plane or something, whatever, right? Like, that's probably not true, but they'll have birds who have like flown into windows and like broken their necks and like been really.
I hope that's the case because
It
like
it
the zoo and like we both live in Edmonton. If you've seen that bald eagle, it's sad.
so
It is
that
sad to see
so
that.
it is true for that bald eagle. That bald eagle was
Is
injured in
it?
some way,
Okay,
and they helped
good.
rehabilitate it, and now it's on display. But like, what about the tigers and like those
I know.
zebras that
I
don't,
know.
all that stuff? It sort of makes me sad too. But my sons will never see a tiger outside of a zoo. It's
Mm,
cool to see. I love tigers.
mm.
Probably my favorite animal. I was thinking about the other day. I think tiger's my favorite animal. I would never see a real tiger if I, not for
Well, you
zoos.
don't want to.
Yeah, I would. No way,
Yeah,
man. There's like
yeah.
killing machines. Tigers are so cool. Um, that's probably like the
Biggest
one.
cat, biggest cat in the world.
They have to be
Tigers.
the greatest predator. I mean, on land certainly, right? Like
Mm,
they're so big, so agile, so strong. If you ever want to really, and this is probably the thing that really got me into tigers. There's a book called The Tiger by a guy named John Valiant, and it's about this tiger in eastern Russia.
mm,
And it's true that so it's nonfiction that was hunting people, and
mm,
it's a story of this tiger picking off people while this other
mm,
guy tries to chase down the tiger, and the opening scene is like it like paints this picture of there's these footsteps in the snow that just stop. So this guy's been missing, they can't find him. They find his footsteps and they just stop in the middle of the snow. I'm like, well, where'd he go? And they're looking around at night, I think, and they're like, I can't see it. And then they look like to the right, like 15 feet, and there's just like two tiger prints, and then they look to the left 15 feet, and it's like where the tiger landed. So the tiger takes
mm,
off from the side, snatches this guy, and
mm.
lands on the other side of the tracks so far that when they were looking at the tracks, they're like, well, what happened here? Like they had to look around and be like, oh, that's where the tiger took off, and that's where it landed, and that's where it killed the guy. Insane. Anyways, I mean, that sucks. Like that's not what, like, I'm not pumped on tigers killing people, but yeah, they're super
They're
cool
super
animals.
scary. Like just like
Yeah,
they're like murder machines. Yeah.
it's insane. Anyway, sorry. So you didn't go to the zoo, or so yeah. So you were gonna go to the zoo, but you didn't go to the zoo. Sounds like, or
Yeah, we didn't go to the zoo because City of Edmonton has they need you to book online, and we didn't know that.
mm.
Yeah, so we got there and then had to break the news to Vina, and
Oh,
she was broke down. Yeah, and then there was another family there, and they said that they'd driven 5 hours to the zoo, and they had no idea you had to book online. And I felt so bad for them.
oh, you
So
wonder. You think because I guess Father's Day, it's probably at capacity. I was gonna say like if you're an attendant there, like wouldn't you make a
I don't know.
way? But
I'm not sure if that family ultimately got through because we kind of just left because we didn't really want to get Vina's hopes up or anything like that.
yeah,
But and also we can always come back if we don't live too far from it. So,
yeah,
but yeah. So that was a bummer.
no doubt that sucks, dude.
Yeah,
But you got
yeah.
waffles, so that's good.
We got waffles. Yeah, I didn't go to the zoo, but then we've been doing a lot of playground hopping. I don't know if you do that with your kids, but
Yeah,
Edmonton's got some pretty cool playgrounds.
yeah, really
So you
good
go to this
ones.
one playground and it has a zip line, like a legitimate zip line.
What?
Yeah, and
Really?
so I obviously try this thing, and it is so much fun. So Michelle and I are just zipping, going. There's two of them.
When
We're
you,
just
but like when
going
I say like,
down these zip lines.
but like when I say zip line, I feel like it's like from tree to tree. It's like 100 feet. Like, is this just like a little? Like, just tell me what you mean by zip line here, because in my mind, it's probably much more
Yeah,
grandiose
so I
than
would
it
say
was.
this thing that the top bar that's holding the line is probably about maybe 20 feet in the air.
Mm.
And so you got to obviously stand up on a platform and you're sitting on this sort of, disc and with a thick rope and yeah, and you just kind of let go and it goes at a pretty good, like you just don't anticipate it, right? Like when I went on, I was like, okay, this is going to go be slow. And so it was kind of fast. And so I think it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm at the playground. Nothing here is probably going to be entertaining for me. And so you have this low expectation,
Mm.
and then you're sitting on this thing and it just zips you across. And I have this big child smile on my face because I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And so Avina's calling Michelle. She's like, "Mommy, come here, come here." Michelle gets on it. She's like having the time of the world. And so then we finally got Avina on it because Avina sat on Michelle, and she loved it too. So it was cool. So I'll have to tell you about this park
Man, you're gonna be like
afterwards.
installing a zip line in your backyard.
Yeah,
Big zip line enthusiast is what you guys are gonna be.
It was so much fun. Have you ever done the zip line at the West Edmonton Mall water park?
No, I don't think I've ever done like a formal zip line.
Okay.
No, I never have. I mean, it sounds cool. Not 'cause I don't have anything against zip lines. I just have never done it.
Would you rather bungee or skydive if you had? I mean, maybe it's neither, but if you had a choice,
I don't know. Maybe bungee because I'm not going to do 40 jumps or whatever to get to the point where I can skydive by myself. Like there's a certain, like you have to get a certain amount of experience before you're allowed to jump out of an airplane by yourself. So if I went skydiving, I'd be strapped to somebody, which fine, I guess. But bungee jumping, you'd just be totally by yourself. And also you'd feel sort of weightless. I mean, I guess you'd feel weightless jumping on a plane, but like you just have this intense moment of falling and then like there's a bit of a ride to it. I don't know though. It's a tough call. Jumping out of a plane would be pretty cool.
I didn't even actually think about I know you have to obviously jump tandem in the beginning, and then you have to work your way up, like you said. But I was just going to stop at that. I was even going to work my way up to do it by myself. I think the thing for me with bungee jumping is just like the band. Like I'm sure it's constructed so well, and that obviously
you're worried about the bands.
I'm working about the band. I'm working about the band because like if that obviously if it snaps, it's like an instant kind of like you have no time for processing your life or anything like that. Whereas
better?
like if you're skydiving, like I feel like if the parachute didn't. First of all, if you're tandem, then it's like, okay, at least there's a little bit of backup. But if nothing good happens, at least you have some time to process things. I don't know. That's just.
Would you want that though? Wouldn't you just want to like everything goes black and then it's over? Like would you want to have the minute of?
But what a way to go for your family and stuff. I don't know. Just
both ways would be awful. I don't know.
But maybe there's a softer landing with jumping out of a plane.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because don't they do these things over fields and stuff? And
yeah, I don't know.
Water apparently is very bad. You don't want to hit water. That's like hitting concrete.
You'd have to pencil, wouldn't you? You'd have to like just when like you're jumping off the high diving board at the pool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Good luck doing that. I don't know, man. Yeah. Both I don't shy away from activities that maybe I don't know how to say it are. People might say that they're for adrenaline junkies or like extreme sports or whatever. Like, I like rock climbing. That's a lot of fun. I'm not saying that's an extreme sport, but things that have a bit of risk associated with them, I'm kind of cool with it. But I don't know, skydiving, bungee jumping, that'd be I don't know. That'd be a very tough decision if I could only do one. The more I think about it, maybe skydiving, because skydiving would be just like insane. It'd be so high up.
I know,
right?
It'd be so exhilarating. But I don't know if I would do it anytime soon, because I feel like having kids now, young kids, like, just changing your perspective. Yeah.
What a stupid thing.
Yeah.
Like, what a stupid reason to die is because you're.
But I think it definitely like 70, 80, 90 kind of thing, I would do it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
Yeah, so that sounds fun. So you had waffles and then a little zip line action.
Unexpected zip line. So that was fun. And then, just kind of came home and had an awesome leftover lunch. Like we ate our chicken shawarma plates from the night before, which just tasted a whole lot better the next day. And that was about it. And Michelle made an awesome barbecue with, she made these sweet potato buns.
Yeah. Buns?
I've
had potato buns before, not sweet potato buns.
No, sweet potato buns. See, I gave you the choice of whether you want to come for a barbecue or waffles, but you chose waffles, so you're missing out on the sweet potato buns.
Well, waffles are still pretty good, but maybe I'll just stay the whole day and you can just
just feed you.
Yeah. Here, put my son to bed. It's his nap time. Yeah. I'm gonna have a nap too. When I wake up, there better be sweet potato buns.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go sleep off these waffles. Well, that sounds like a pretty good day.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I got Vina gave me a breakfast in bed with waffles. So that was. But I'm not. Are you a breakfast in bed kind of guy? Because I
make so much of a mess when I eat.
I get a little nervous about that because I had the syrup was in a little. It was beautifully presented. Michelle did a great job, and she had the syrup in the little container. But at one point, I was like, oh shoot, I got to wash my hands. I had to get out, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to work out. But Avina was even. She's like, "Be careful, Daddy, because if you get syrup,
it's like a pillow stuck to your forearm because you get syrup." I don't know. I can't eat pancakes and waffles. And I'm like, I eat like a 5-year-old. Like I can't eat those things without getting my hands a little bit sticky. So
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's a lovely gesture and a very like appropriate thing to do, right? For the father in your life. That's nice. That's sweet. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
sounds
was a
like a
good
pretty
day.
good day.
Yeah. What about you?
It was okay. Our one son's not feeling great, so
Mm.
didn't sleep much at all last night. You can probably tell I got puffy pink eyes, I think. But yeah, I didn't sleep much and just kind of looking after him. And but he kind of started feeling better throughout the day, and which is nice. And yeah, he painted me a little mug. So I like the tradition, like the what's the word, quintessential like mug that says "I love Dad" on it, and
Yeah.
painted. And
Nice.
frankly, it's painted horribly, but he's 2.5, so who cares, right?
Yeah.
It's just really nice to have that little thing. So that was good. And Huevos Rancheros were on the docket, but we pushed them to
Oh.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I love Huevos Rancheros, man. I think
Yeah.
I so like sort of you have a love for waffles, and I do too. I love them,
Yeah.
but I don't know what it is. I think I love. I would say I love Mexican food, but I think I love like that Southern United States, like Tex-Mex
Mm.
bastardization
Mm-hmm.
of it. I love that stuff. So like burritos
Well,
and
you're a burrito guy. You love your
love burritos.
burritos.
Love burritos. We had
Yeah.
tacos last week. Love tacos. And we've eaten a lot of fajitas. Yeah, I keep fajitas. And so like Huevos Rancheros is just the breakfast version of that.
Yeah.
So that was on the docket. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
because
I
I got the
said,
egg on top, right?
yeah. And there's a bunch
Yeah.
of ways you can make it, but I think just like refried bean, like fry up some peppers, onions, a little bit of
Mm.
cumin maybe in there, a little bit of chili powder, a little bit of smoked paprika if you got it, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then got your refried beans. So it's peppers, onions, and then maybe throw some tomatoes in there. Cook them down real nice.
You make this?
What's that?
You make it?
I like yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes we make it, not as much as I should.
Mm.
But then you just like make a little spot for some eggs, like basically poach the eggs and the tomatoes and peppers and stuff, and then get a little tortilla, crisp it up, put some refried beans on there, and then you just scoop your eggs with the peppers and tomatoes and stuff. Do a little bit of Valentino's hot sauce. That's the good stuff.
Mm.
It's fantastic, and that's what we're having tomorrow morning. So I'm pumped for it.
Mm. Do you like your hot sauces like kind of tomatoey?
I would say I like them a little bit more. I mean, there's certainly some aspect of tomato in them, I think, but I like. I don't think like not overly. Like I'm trying to think how I can describe this Valentino's. It's almost like a smoky, it's like a spicy, slightly smoky kind of vinegary.
Mm.
I don't know. It's just fantastic. Really, really good stuff. And I didn't do a good job of describing it at all. But it's really good. So I don't know. I don't think I'm not looking for tomato flavors in my hot sauce. I'm looking more for a little bit of smoke and a little bit of that tang. I don't know. I'm having a hard time describing it, but yeah, Valentinas. I can't remember what it's called, but man, it's good.
I like I find the tomato ones are just too tangy and it throws off. I like when the spice just kind of immerses on your tongue. Like I like chipotle peppers. I like chipotle sauce. Like it just has that, like just covers your whole palate kind of thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
really
that.
good. Really good mouthfeel on that stuff. Good tongue coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hate like, just heat for the sake of heat. Like that, there has to be a nice little.
Oh, because it's just a pain.
It's so stupid. I've had friends who just love food that's so hot it makes them cry. Right, like it just hurts. Like we've all felt it where your mouth is on fire. I hate that, especially because you can't even taste the flavors, and it ruins the whole meal for you because you can't taste anything after. So no, there has to be good flavors and a little bit of heat, sure, and it can be a lot of heat, but as long as it's not like an overbearing, sort of just burn your tongue off heat.
Yeah.
So, so my Father's Day was okay, but yeah, sick little boy. Not, sucks. You just feel bad for him.
Mm. What was the tradition growing up for you? Like with your dad?
That's a good question. And I don't know that we had any firm tradition. Usually, we get him something like a little gift, whatever it was. And usually there'd be a meal in there that we'd make. So breakfast, usually I can recall, making breakfast for my dad with my mom in the morning and having the gifts wrapped beforehand and going out with my mom the weeks leading up, finding a gift for him and all that stuff. And then I feel like the morning was kind of the part of it. Dad and I might go golfing or something sometimes, or
Nice.
something like that, maybe a little bit later on. But younger, I feel like we just, the morning time and the breakfast, and that's when we give them the gift and all that stuff. That was sort of celebration. Then we would just sort of go about our day. It was never like a full day thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was the same for Mother's Day too. Like we, usually a breakfast or a meal or something, and sometimes an activity, but usually it was just sort of like the activity was making food with them and for them and all that stuff. So that was generally the trend. But no real firm traditions. What about you?
Yeah, we didn't have like it wasn't a full day thing, but definitely the morning was I'd always make my dad breakfast. There was always a spot in the front yard where he'd sit down and kind of just wait for his meal, and you could see a little bit of he just like this anticipation with himself, like just be like, all right, it's coming,
Was there one meal that you would make him?
Probably. Oh, what meal? What was there one meal?
Yeah, like one consistent.
Yeah, it would always just be like breakfast and eggs, and that was sort of his thing, and just add a little bit more of a twist to it, like just add a little specialties.
Saffron.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I don't know. It'd just be like, just add like a special fruit on the side, or sure. Just cook it a little bit differently. Just presentation, right? Everything was just a little bit different. So just tried to make that meal feel a little extra special. But that was about it. I remember there was one year though, I missed Father's Day.
Like you forgot.
And I want to say, yeah, and he's probably hearing the truth right now about this, but yeah, I want to say it was maybe late teens or something, and I forgot, and it broke his heart. It literally it hurt him because he was just like, so you didn't say Happy Father's Day to me today, and
this was at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so, or it was the next day. I don't know. He just wasn't talking to me, right? And I was like, oh shoot, something's up, and he's like, you didn't say Happy Father's Day to me, and then I made something up. I did, and I said that well, I don't need a single day to tell you that I love you every single day, right? Like I really tried to smooth it out that way.
And how'd it go?
And he took it, right? He's like, okay. He's like, if that's how you feel, and he took it, and I felt like shit because I was like totally just lied to him. But I was like, at that moment, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna break his heart if I just said, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. Right? Because like we've talked about this and his presence in my life, and he's been there for everything. And it's like, I had one fucking day and I couldn't remember that. Like, oh man, it killed me. Yeah. It killed me. And so, yeah, Father's Day was always really special for him. It was a really special thing. And so it was something that, beyond that one time, it was never forgotten. And so I definitely think about him on Father's Day. Like it's a very close day for us. Yeah. So, well, I should say, well, people probably wouldn't know this, but you know this, is that, after he died, like we spread his ashes on Father's Day, right? Like it was just a very sort of circular thing for me. Like that was the day it needed to be done. And, yeah, so it was always a special day. It's a hard day, but yeah, that one day, I can't believe I forgot that one day.
Oh man. I can't, that'd be obviously a guilt that sort of sticks with you forever, right? Like you feel so bad when you let, when you have parents that are so involved in your life and so special to you, and you let them down. God, there's no worse feeling. But having said that, I mean, you think about, so you made up a lie. Like I don't need to tell you, Dad. Like I don't need one single day to tell you that I love you and all that stuff. But I feel like the relationship you had with your dad, probably did tell him almost every day. Like there was no shortage of, relaying the fact to him that you loved him as a dad and all that stuff. So they're probably, I mean, it was a lie, sure, a lie, but smart. It's, I know that you're not proud of it and all that stuff, but pretty good lie on the spot. But there's probably like a modicum of truth to it too.
Yeah. It's funny because I want to say maybe after that day, recognizing, like we've talked about this too, like, him being, I don't know if it was a cultural thing in his upbringing, but like feelings weren't sort of a thing that was a part of our household. Like we never told each other that we loved each other. It was just kind of implied and you understood it. But when I understood that really hurt him, I was like, okay, like I know he has thick skin, but there's a sensitive spot to him, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like, he really needed appreciation and he needs recognition, and it's not all the time. And for him, it was just this one time a year. He just needed that one time a year for me to be like, to relay that, that I loved him and I cared about him and all these sort of things. It was funny because like as in his sort of last few years of his life, he would always ask me, be like, "Do you remember that time when we were kids, when you were a kid?" And just like this memory, and I'd be like, "Yeah," and just seeing like the joy in his face to know that like I recognize those moments, right, and remember those moments, and I kind of feel the same way with Davina. Like I'll have these little memories. These little sort of picture moments, and I'm sure you have these sort of things where you're just like, I gotta take this mental picture. And obviously she's still really young, but I hope in the future, like I probably will feel the same way and try to be like, hey, Avina, do you remember this time? And when you share that, it's just extra special.
I wonder if that skill, to me personally, I mean, the skill to be able to recognize a moment as being a wonderful moment and to sort of commit that to memory and commit those details of whatever that moment is to memory as best as you can, I think is one of the biggest secrets in parenting and in trying to enjoy parenting, because parenting is really fucking hard. And there are days where you feel like you're not getting any of those moments. Like there's days where you feel like what? Like I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so frustrated. I'm so mad. I'm whatever, right? Like just all these emotions. I was talking to a buddy about it, and he said, he's like, man, it's about the moments. It's about recognizing these moments. Even in the shitty days, there's going to be these moments, and being able to just say, this is a good moment. And the next second, it's going to go to shit again. But you had that moment, and it doesn't, the fact that the next moment goes to shit and somebody, whatever, throws something at you or like yells at you or whatever it is, doesn't take away the fact that that other moment happened, right? Like it's,
for sure.
And so I've tried to really be like, this is a wonderful moment. Like just recognize the moment for what it is. Cause this is like sort of what it's all about. I mean, I don't want to sound dramatic, but condensing or being able to kind of filter out those moments and recognize them and cherish them and recognize them for how special they are, I think helps. It has really helped me when it comes to parenting and my mental approach to parenting, particularly when times are tough. And there's some tough times when you're parenting.
It's those little. I think it's those little joys too, right? Like you're more probably conscious about remembering the big events, right? The big sort of milestones, obviously. But what and I'm not sure what your feelings are on this, but like just when my dad left, the things that I get most emotional about are the little things, right? The little memories, right? The little sort of behavioral gestures that I don't get to see anymore, or just like the little, I don't know, just little encounters that I may have had with him, or the way he moved, or
like
I know, just like little,
whatever.
yeah. And also just like, I may have shared a meal with him in this way, and this is how it would have looked like this is how it would have been structured, this is how it would have been eating, like all these little things. And so these are the things that I now recognizing this is the stuff that I am taking more, or I'm being more mindful about in my relationship with Avina. And so it'll be like, I don't know, a small thing could be like her and I sometimes will have fruit together and we'll sit outside on the foot of the deck, right? And we'll just be sitting, have a bowl of cherries, and we'll just be sharing this bowl of cherries. And I just record that in my head, right? Or like 3:30 in the afternoon on a work day, right now working from home, she'll come up and be like, Daddy, it's fruit time. And so we'll have our own fruit time, right? Yeah. And so it's like, that's like, it's not a big event, but it's like, I know I'm going to remember that, and it's just going to be so special. So that's what I'm trying to really just focus on these days, is like those little things, because I think those are the ones that get lost, but they're so extra special when you don't get to share them anymore, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's sort of what I don't know, like the secret sounds like a stupid thing to say, but I think that's a really important aspect of parenting. Is it's not if you set these expectations to find fulfillment in these grand moments, like, oh, this is hard, but when you're 7, I'm taking you to Disneyland and we're going to create a lifetime worth of memories at Disneyland. You're not really in the moment because you're thinking about that trip to Disneyland in 5 years or 4 years or whatever it is. And B, you're setting a lot of expectations for those giant trips, for those big things that are coming up. And expectations only lead to resentment, right? Like so now all of a sudden, instead of being in Disneyland, if you go, and just being like, okay, like we're here and we'll just see how it goes. And if it's fun, great. If it's not, whatever. You're like, no, I've been building this up in my head for 4 years. We've been saving for 4 years to come do this trip, and we're going to have fun, goddammit. And if we don't have fun, it's a disaster or whatever, right? And so I feel like recognizing that you're not going to find fulfillment as a parent in those big moments, in those, grand gestures or whatever it is. It's in the sort of these everyday little moments that kind of happen. And those are the things that, as you're lying on your deathbed, there's this great Radiohead song where they talk about their videotape. And basically it's just this metaphor for this tape that plays at like the end of your life. And this is one of the good days. And so I'm going to put it on my videotape. But basically when you're dying and that videotape plays, if that's how it happens, which who knows if it does, but it's not going to be the big things. It's going to be the little things. It's going to be the way your, whatever, dad cut gardens in the front or flowers in the front garden or whatever, right? Like it's going to be these little things that maybe in the moment when you were a kid growing up with your parent, you didn't realize the value of it. But sounds like for you, and I'm certainly trying to do that, like you recognize the value in those small things and how that's what makes parenting great, is these small moments. Even if in the next moment your kid just headbutts you. He headbutted me so hard the other day.
He does that, eh?
Man.
He does that quite a bit.
He just, he's got a lot of emotions, little guy, and he doesn't know, we're trying to teach him how to handle those big emotions and big feelings. I don't handle my I threw his bib the other day. It smells like, stupid bib. I threw it. That's stupid, right? I'm a fucking 30-year-old man, for God's sakes. Like, I don't know. So it's just like they have all these big emotions inside, and you try to show him the way, but he's 2.5. He's not going to figure it out. Anyways, he headbutted the shit out of me. And like, how behind your ears you have like those bumps, like those bones that protrude? He got me so good in one of them that it was twice as big as the other one. Like it just like swole up. Yeah, he fucking got me good.
You have cauliflower ears.
Yeah, I'm like a wrestler. Right? Anyway, so, 1 minute you're having like these beautiful, like he hurt his teeth the other day and he said, kiss my teeth. And he like held his teeth out. And like for people watching it, that's like, God, that's fucking stupid. But for me, I was like, this is the cutest thing. Like this,
I'm doing this right now.
I just love about him, right?
Yeah.
And then whatever, 2 minutes later, he's just headbutting me in the face. Anyways, so I think it's all about, exactly that. Those little moments.
Do you ever find with both of your kids now that you think about your childhood a lot more when you're around them? I think about it from a standpoint of my parents, certainly, and like what maybe what they were going through, or the understanding all of the emotions and feelings and energy and stress that can go into parenting, and just being completely oblivious to it. Even even in my 20s, my mom would get worried if I was out partying or something. My mom always, when I was out partying, she could not fall asleep until I got home. So I was a steakhead from the time I was 18 to whatever. Well, I moved away when I was 18. Anyway, when you're young, you don't realize that. I'd be like, Mom, like, why are you still up? I'm fine. Like, why are you still up? But she has friends whose children were killed in drunk car crashes and whatever, right? And so they would really drive home like, don't get in the car with somebody who's been drinking or whatever, right? And of course, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, okay, I won't. But to her, she's like, well, I've seen this happen to other people, and it terrifies me. But when I was 18 or 19, I was just like, God, stop worrying. Like, what are you doing? Just go to sleep. Like, I always come home. But she couldn't sleep. And I never understood that until now. Just things like that. There's this book, Patton Oswalt's wife, who's now passed away, and I can't remember her name, Kelly something, wrote this book on a serial killer in California, the Golden State Killer, they called him. Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
Super interesting story. It's one of those things where like it was a cold case. He'd murdered a bunch of people, sexually assaulted a bunch of people, never found him. Anyways, she writes this book. She dies. But right after she dies, they actually catch the guy, and a lot of it had to do with the work she was doing. Anyways, that has nothing to do with any of this. In that book, she talks about how she had this really fractured relationship with her mother. Like they were always fighting. And that was because I always got along great with my mom, but how she frames this is great, I thought. So it's this really fractured relationship, and she never got it. She was like, why are you like that? Like, why are you like that? And then she had a kid, and she said her mom died before her daughter was born. And she said when her daughter was born, she cried for 3 days because she finally got it. She finally got why her mom was the way she was to her, but her mom was dead. And so she couldn't tell her mom, I understand. All the stuff that you were doing, I understand. And I'm sorry and whatever, right? And it's just like this thing. And I hate sort of stories like that because it, if you're, or I don't hate stories like that. I hate when I say things like what I'm about to say, but making me a parent has really helped me understand my parents. And it's hard to get if you don't have kids. And that sounds, sort of exclusionist or gatekeeping or something, but it's this sea of emotions that I don't know I could never relate to until I had kids. And now that I've had that, I'm swimming in the sea of emotions. So to answer your question, yes, I think about it a lot. And I think about how I would do things when I was a kid and my parents would react a certain way. And I'd be like, my mom staying up until I got home. I'm like, what are you doing? Like this, like it didn't make any sense to me then. It makes a ton of sense to me now. You?
Yeah, I would just to sort of echo what you're saying about, until you're a parent, it's sort of hard to see that. Although I think it just it gets enabled in a more just in a more firm way, I guess, like those feelings or being able to be more empathetic or understanding your parents a lot more just becomes enabled more firmly, I guess. It doesn't mean that somebody who doesn't have a kid can't place themselves to try to project or understand what their parents would have gone through or would have been going through. But I think when you have something where it's like, the saying of having a kid is like having your heart outside your chest. Like, I don't know how you recreate those feelings. Like, you could probably, you may be able to do it with nieces or nephews to some extent. I mean, everyone's situations and family situations look different. So I can't say that can't happen for sure. Or, pets are people's family members and, but if you're able to have that kind of situation where you're just like your heart is beating outside your chest through somebody else and you don't know, you have no control over how that person's going to... You have influence. You have influence, but you don't have ultimate control. Exactly. That's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. So yeah, no, totally. I agree with that. That I live, or when I witness Avina's childhood, I definitely think about sort of how I think about when she gets older, sort of how I'm going to handle those situations and how my parents did, and think about that. I do though think about when there are experiences that she is having right now that I know that I had, that I'm like, okay, where was I? What was I doing, right? Or what would that have looked like? Or what would my parents have been doing, right? Like, so for example, today we were planting in our front garden, right? And my family were gardeners. Like, we did a lot of that, right? And so just thinking about like, oh, she's gonna grow up like with a green thumb and or possibly anyways, or has been influenced that way, and just sort of seeing her help us and thinking about like sort of how I would help my parents with the gardening, right? And so yeah, I feel a lot of that, which is a great feeling to have, to sort of relive your childhood. And at least for me, I was very blessed to have a positive childhood. So to sort of relive that in some ways through my daughter, but in a different way because it's a different person and different relationships and context and all that. It's like it's like feeding off my childhood but building something new. It's just a really cool.
It's almost like re-experiencing those old experiences in like a bit of a different way or something. Like it adds something to those previous experiences, right? It like shifts them just a little bit for the better. It sounds like for a lot of them. Yeah. No, it's really interesting. It's a lens that it's like if you ever went to war or something, coming home, and like all those guys who like were in Vietnam coming home and trying to explain to people what it was like there. You just can't. And I'm not saying that like parenting is like going to war, and all I'm saying is I feel like there are experiences out there that just the words and the comprehension of words, they just don't exist. That process doesn't exist to sort of capture what that experience is like. And this is one of them. And it's like this insane lens that you're looking through. It's like you just said, it's like shifted, like all this history. So like on the surface, it's just you and your wife and your daughter in a garden. But for you, there's like this lifetime of experience from when you were a kid. There's this present moment with your daughter now in the garden. And then there's like this future that you have envisioned.
And it's happening literally, Kyle, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's literally happening all at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Just like all these different streams of and flow of like visuals and information is happening, especially when I get that time to just like sit for like a couple of seconds. I'm just like, oh my God, like I did this or I did something similar to this. Avina's doing this right now. Oh, what's gonna happen when she, so like you said, with the future projections too? It's just so cool. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's just,
totally. No, it's
yeah.
and that's what I mean. It's like this. It's like this sea. It's like this swirling, crazy, like rapids of like emotions and feelings and expectations and
Mm,
hopes and fears and all at once in every moment. Like, I don't know. It's weird. And even I find that like now, somebody will say something to me that'll hit me so profoundly. My mom said the other day, "How are the boys?" And I was just like, "What a trip!" Like, I don't know, like 3 years ago, that wouldn't have meant anything to me. And now that
yeah.
means everything to me. And just like,
Yeah.
like for her to be able to say like the boys, and even after she said it, she's like, how good does that sound?
Mm.
Like the, like,
She said that to
yeah.
you?
And it's
Like,
just
how good
like,
does that sound? That's
how are
nice.
the boys? And
Yeah.
then just, it's, how are the boys? Like, what is that? 4 words? And it was just like, for me, I was like, holy shit. Like I'm an older person now and I have 2 children and they're
Yeah.
both boys and like all this. I don't know. It's weird, man. And so it's
Yeah.
funny how, um, I don't know, just like how you filter information and how you see things and how that's influenced by, I don't know, just like your whole life
Mm.
and your kids' lives and your wife's life and the future vision you have for things. And, I'm scared of everything all the time. Like, it's just this really weird space to play in. I don't know. Yeah, no.
When
So
we, well,
I appreciate that question because it's a good question and it's a hard one to sort of pin down, but it's it's sort of helped me kind of verbalize how I feel about parenting in a, I don't know, sort of coherent way maybe.
what would you say, or when do you think your earliest childhood memory was? Like, what age do you
Fuck, I
think?
don't know.
What would your guess be?
We lived the most of my clearest childhood memories are from like probably four. I'm trying to think. So because we lived in 3 houses that I remember just a little bit. The first one I can like picture like the street that we were on. I think I was like 3. And then we moved
Mm.
to this other house for a couple of years, and I have some very vivid memories from there. And then we moved to this log cabin, and I remember that very vividly. And that all happened from like age 3 to probably, I don't know, 6 or something. So
Mm.
somewhere in that range. But the earliest memory I have that's sort of foggy is probably 3. But I was just reading
Do
something
you?
today that said like a 9-year-old will remember almost her whole life up to a certain point, right? Like from like 2 to 9. But when she's 16, she won't remember those 2 to 9 years, right? Like it's
Mm.
like this. They call it some form of amnesia, where you, as you get older, you will forget things that you used to remember when you were. So yeah, like when
Mm.
you're 10, you'll have memories that you remember that you can recall. That when you're 20, you will not have those memories anymore, because it's like
Mm.
this amnesia that develops as you grow older. I don't know how it works or anything, but um, it's it.
I'm curious. Do you know when that sort of study was done?
I'm trying. I just read it this week, and I'm trying to think of where I read it, and I can't remember.
Because I have this. I wonder if kids today, so our kids, right? The fact that we have, we have our cameras in our pockets, right? Easily take a bunch of pictures. I don't know if your kids are the same, at least, Lowell and Avina are kind of the same age. And so if he like sees his pictures often, but Avina likes to see her pictures, if that sort of, what does that do for your memory? I guess is what I'm
Mm.
saying. Because for me, I think my early childhood memory is around 3. And I do remember my first memory. I do remember my first memory because I had to do this. We go through therapy and counseling. One of the exercises is sort of pinpoint very sort of significant moments in your
Okay.
life. And so you have to sort of narrow down what you think is your earliest childhood memory. And so that would have been the age of 3. But I also have, my dad has video recordings of different moments in my life. And so I remember things, but then I'm like, am I remembering these things through the video camera and then being able to because I know what my family home looked like, just kind of reconstruct a memory, an artificial one? Or is something there and this video is just triggering a memory that has been built into my long-term memory system?
Interesting.
And so I wonder with like kids today, because they see a lot more photos more frequently. Like, I mean, obviously when we grew up with film camera, you don't take your film camera out all the time. It's for special moments, or you don't waste film. Most people don't. And even with video cameras, not everyone had them. But nowadays it's so easy to just take a bunch of pictures frequently.
It's free.
And so what is that doing to kids, to memories of kids? Is it actually strengthening their limbic system and their memory, their long-term memory, or is it weakening it? Like I've been thinking about that a lot, actually. Like whether, because Avina, when I ask her about something that happened, because she's 3 and a bit now, when I ask her something last summer, she can be very precise and there's no pictures of it, right? She can be very precise of certain situations and there's no pictures to it. And so I'm like, okay, is that a good guess? Is that coincidence? Or is it, and she's seen pictures of a certain moment or event, and so is it just reconstructing something, and is it triggering something? So my hypothesis is I believe that their memory is going to be strengthened as a result, but I don't know.
I wonder, and I don't know, because I guess they live the moment, and when they live that moment, they're in the moment, and then later they'll get a picture that reminds them of the moment they lived in. They're not, because at this point, she's not taking the picture and then not experiencing that moment. Like she's not relying on the camera to capture the moment for her. She's experiencing it, and then later that picture sort of reinforces it in her memory. But based on the thing that I read, which again I have no idea where it came from, so it might not be valuable at all. But she'll forget that. Like when like right now, she can remember that thing from last summer, vividly. But when she's 10, she won't have any recollection of it at all. And then and like that age that she kind of forgets, or that kind of gets swept from her memory, will sort of increase to a certain point as she gets older. So like right now she can remember times from when she's 1.5 maybe, but when she's 10 it'll be 2.5, and when she's 20 it'll be 3, and that's it. But
it's like the untethering of the soul when kids are first born, if you believe in reincarnation.
I don't know anything about that. It sounds very dramatic.
There's thoughts out there that like if you believe in reincarnation, that that kids are attached to their previous souls in like their first few years of life, and then eventually they become untethered.
Oh, so they become like their own person, separate from that previous soul.
And so the soul that they had continues on, but if it essentially forgets the previous physical being that it was a part of, and it now merges with the new physical being wholly.
Cool. I like that theory. Yeah.
Well, because so it's interesting because growing up, my dad said my sister said something at the age of like 3, and just started saying a very detailed story about how I think like her boyfriend died or something like that, very vividly, right? And just she sat my dad down on the bed and just started saying this story out of nowhere, like a very detailed, graphic story, and it was very dramatic. And so my dad is part of it is him being Hindu, but also he does believe in reincarnation and the soul and all this sort of stuff. And so for him it was just like, wow, he really believed in us, sort of like, okay, she's still partially tethered, right? So it's funny because Michelle and I will look at signs in Avina, like when she just mentions little things,
or she just does your taxes flawlessly.
Great, she was an accountant in her previous life. No, I love the accountants out there, by the way. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. We just got to look for these little things and wonder if there's still some tethering.
That's I've never heard that before, but it sounds like super cool theory or belief. Yeah, that I'm not going to question it. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it could be, like maybe it's linked to that. I don't know, but it's interesting stuff, and I'll be interested to hear or to see in 30 years' time what our kids' generation, how it will be different from the generation before it, as far as memory goes. Because I don't know, like they could. I feel like the fact that we're always taking pictures and every moment's captured could help with memory, or could really, really hurt it. But I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, 30 years from now, I mean, there's already talk about chips being implanted into brains to sort of,
Fucked up.
well, Elon Musk is working on this, right? It's called Neuralink or
Great, now it's
something.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, why?
Exactly.
What's the benefit
So,
of having a chip in your brain?
well, this is. I
So you don't
mean,
have to log
people are
into
kind of
your
blowing. People. People are kind of blown out of proportion for Neuralink, but I'm sure it has exponential possibilities. But essentially, the first part is to help people who have issues with their central nervous system. So it could be like, motor issues, like where they, Parkinson's or stuff like that, to help people with that. But the thought is that, it could expand to all kinds of things where we may just be communicating through our thoughts rather than like verbal communication, and
Wall-E.
essentially, yeah, exactly that.
Wall-E's
So,
not exactly.
I think Wall-E is actually so prophetic and profound.
Movie's
I
so
love
good.
that movie.
Yeah, it is. That's solid movie.
Yeah.
We're not like, we don't watch movies with a kid yet because I don't think he could sit and watch TV for an hour and a half. We'll watch Daniel Tiger right now for like 2 episodes Sunday afternoon. We'll watch it. That's generally the trend. Today he was like 3/4 of the way through one, and he was just like, I'm bored of this. Let's go do something else. But I'm excited for when we get to watch kids movies. There's some good ones. Did you see Toy Story 3?
I have not. Well, I barely saw Toy Story 1, so I'm kind of...
Yeah, Toy Story 3. There's this moment in Toy Story 3. There's one of the most beautiful cinematic moments I've ever seen. And it's like, I can't remember what leads up to it, but all the toys are like basically in this giant incinerator. It's like Woody and Buzz and the whole gang's there, and they're like slowly like working their like being pulled into this incinerator, and they're gonna die, and they like keep like looking for ways out, and finally they realize that there just isn't a way out. That like this is the end, and they just like hold each other's hands and make a decision that they're just gonna die with grace together.
Oh my goodness.
It's insane. It's insane. and like, I don't know, one of them farts and they fall through this hole and like they get out of it. I can't remember how they get out of it, but they do. But it's this beautiful moment. And it's Toy Story 3. I didn't expect it. But I'm excited to like watch like Monsters Inc. I'm excited to watch Cars. I'm excited to watch Wall-E with my kid. I'm excited to watch all these. Because the thing is, these movies, the good ones, are pretty good. And they're funny. So I'm excited for like movie time with my kid.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I know there's an answer. We should probably wrap this up. Did I tell you though? I know we said we went camping last week, though I forgot to tell you that we saw Grizzly mom and her cub.
Oh, sick.
Like as we were driving, so we went camping near the Ice Hills Parkway, which for folks who are not in Alberta is just sort of the highway that connects Banff National Park and Jasper National Park. And so we went camping down there. As we were driving, there was, Grizzly mom and her cub. And so we were able to get our car relatively close, and the cub was feeding on its mom. It was like a beautiful moment. Man. And it's rare to see grizzlies, as you know, right? And to see a cub and its mom just out in the open was really cool.
That's awesome. That's a really sweet moment to be able to show your kid a bear up front, like up close. That's awesome. Really, really cool. Oh, dude, that's a super sweet thing.
So I figured maybe we could end on that.
Yeah, bear story. I love bear stories.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys got out camping and had a good time.
It was really good. It was the campsite that we had was just surrounded by mountains. Anyone who hasn't been to the Rockies, guys, you just have to come out here.
Yeah, it's something else.
So
it's something where we're very lucky to have it within 4 hours from where we live.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, buddy. Well, should we wrap it up on that note? A bit of meandering convo, but not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you, buddy.
You, man. We'll chat soon.
Yeah, you bet. See ya.